Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to conclude the Acropolis #1 Gauntlet B casts. Joining me, as has been the case for a good number of these games so far, is IskatuMesk. Sir, we are about to watch Terran versus Terran, MoonHunter versus Grunch. We've seen some of Grunch's exploits, but I don't know how familiar you are with MoonHunter. Have you seen too many? Do you remember the name?
I remember MoonHunter playing when we were casting Ascension a while back. And I don't remember too many of the games, but I remember you telling me that he did some... I think he played Zerg, didn't he?
No, he was a Terran player. He was famous for putting in the center stockades. He did some very silly shenanigans to make it pretty deep in Ascension 7's qualifier. Yes. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see anchor floats and proxy stockades and such in this set, but we've got a couple of matches. This is a best-of-3 elimination series, so let's see what happens on Derelict here, or what has happened, I should say, because obviously these games are a little bit old, but I figure what better way than to bring you back into the fold and really catch you up to speed than to see what silliness was awaiting. You'll notice this is Derelict without the ridge, because this is an experimental version of the map we only used for the Gauntlet. We ended up going back to the ridge in the main event. But we have MoonHunter here, as I'm going to call this Ultramarine Terran in the top right, and Grunch in the bottom left. Is this Saffron? No, it's Lemon. Dude, Neblime.
Lemon.
Neblime. Grunch is going to win. He's going to take it, dude.
Nubal Lime makes his daring return to build nothing but masons. And you know what? He doesn't need a ridge to make masons.
That's right. He only needs a little bit of Espion for the quarry. That's it.
Can see that MoonHunter's Scout is comparatively way earlier. So if there's going to be proxies, this is probably going to be it. And it's taking a divergent path. So,
that's right.
Yeah, it's almost guaranteed he's going to do something here.
Yep, I'm guessing it's a proxy stockade. And yep, there it is.
Build.
Yes, that's right. And the second Mason is going to move in for a more normal time to scout, presumably so that it can fall back and maybe start building anchors or some such. But we'll see. We'll see. This is obviously very committal.
Grunch is doing his pretty standard fare, just straight into Fulcrum. I think he's done that every single game, actually.
Yes. I don't think he's went bio a single match so far, but it looks like he's getting ready to drop yet another Fulcrum. There it is. Yep.
Meanwhile, just beyond his line of sight, there could be 8 anchors being built there. What kind of person would ever do such a thing? I don't know.
I had more anchors than Mavericks in that game. It was pretty good.
Yeah, half the anchors that landed literally were empty. It was just
for body blocking.
Unbelievably deranged.
Doing a little bit of light harassment here. 20 damage onto that Mason. And the Vulture only now getting started. I feel like that was an oversight there for Grunch to not have that going.
That could be critical because that's going to give MoonHunter some precious time to build an anchor. He hasn't started it yet. He's got the money, but he's focused on his main right now. Maybe looking at the double Fulcrum and thinking, yeah, I don't want them in my base while I'm trying to do this. So he's going to sacrifice some of that prep time there for getting his main well defended, because if 3 or 4 vultures get into his base, he's pretty much fucked. Even then, just the one could still cause him a little bit of headache, because unless he has a lot of Mavericks waiting for it, it can fight them, and it can also run away from them. So multitasking both his proxy and everything else on the way could be an issue.
Oh, he's got the second Maverick for staffing that anchor, so I think he'll be safe. But theoretically, the Vultures could try to do some shenanigans.
It's not in the best location. Like, if they skirt the bottom and go to the left, they might be out of range.
They'll definitely only take a couple of hits, is my concern there, if it's a run-by. And there's a lot of Vultures, actually.
All at once, too, right? Like, some of them won't take any hits at all. And meanwhile, the anchor is en route to his base.
That's right.
The stockade is floating back across the map, so this is probably MoonHunter's most vulnerable time. Whereas Grunch has no idea.
Well, he's going to start to have an idea, because he's too busy looking at the Vultures, one of them getting very close to dying. He still hasn't looked back at his base just yet. The Mavericks are stimmed inside that anchor. And now Grunch is like, wait a second, what's happening? I'm under attack.
He's looking at the stockade, and he's like, oh, shit.
When you see that floating back.
Many Masons died in the meantime.
Yeah, when you see that stockade floating back, you know something bad's happening. Now, here come the 6-7 Vultures that have been made that think about if they just powered on in and destroyed the standing force here, you know?
The one is fully staffed, but he definitely could just kind of run past it. He doesn't really want to go for the trade, which kind of a losing scenario here because he's going to take damage on his vultures either way. But the Mavericks are actually shooting the workers.
Yeah,
they don't get another kill in there, so could have gone worse.
Yeah, a little bit extra.
One more Mason does die.
Yeah, denied mining time and the one extra Mason kill. So hey, MoonHunter, he's sitting at pretty at an 8-worker advantage. Many of them are not mining. There you go. 4 of his or 5 of his workers were not mining. So.
See, if he tries to bust the ramp now, there's going to be more Mavericks, and several of the Vultures are pretty wounded. So it's not as likely to be as successful at this point.
No, I think he'll just get destroyed if he tries it now. I mean, there are more coming, and there's the Vestry and then the Covenant, so we're probably going to end up seeing, like, Savants, if I had to guess. I think this was before the awakening to people knowing that the Eidolon could be done, but another Vulture gets sniped from that ridge. You know, all these mines are well and good, but you got to be able to capitalize on it, and the way that most of them are possibly going to pop here. In fact, if I'm MoonHunter, I'm thinking, yeah, let's try to coax them in. Yeah, come on, come forward, and then you know the ranged anchor stuff would be able to do it. But he actually is a little bit further back. Yeah.
There is indeed an Eidolon on the way. Eidolon and clerics. If he can get some detection out there, either a shaman or an Anseal, or bait enough of them out, then he can pretty much just poke his way down. Meanwhile, Grunch had a bunch of resources stacked up, like 300. So he ended up just dropping it into a treasury and replenishing his workers. He can bounce back, at least in terms of economy, if he holds tight and doesn't lose too many vultures to the inevitable breakout. But as more and more Eidolons come out in the field, their damage is
goodbye, sir.
Never mind. Everything I said just doesn't matter.
Yeah, if these...
That's not the unit you want to be pulling the mines with.
No. And you know what? Like, if he moves the anchors forward, he can harass these vultures out of there pretty easily.
Yeah, he can put one on the ledge. Looks like he might be doing that there. Yep, he's just going to hop them over, get a little bit of better coverage out there. At least punish them for killing, your most expensive unit.
That's right. Watchdog is going to scout as well to see that the treasury is coming online pretty soon. That'll be heading in that area. More stockades coming. Nothing like a little bit of bio for us.
Yeah, it looks like Grunch probably wants to get some healing going on in there. He's got quite a lot of units that are lightly wounded now. Some of the other ones have died. And it's clear that he's not going to be able to bust this. He doesn't even want to try it at the moment.
Grunch is traumatized. He's like, oh no, the Watchdog is going to land on my Masons. Pulled some of them away. Before realizing it's just there to scout. Oh, but it is going to see the star pad, so it's a pretty good scout here. All he needs to do is scout the Vestry coming. Now a bit of a breakout attempt. Remember all those mines. There is a Savant out with the mix. Gotta watch out for those mines. It is getting... Most of them are getting destroyed before they can really pop, though.
He needs them to be aggroed onto the vultures.
There we go.
There you go. There's a little bit, but there's still that Eidolon in the back. Remember, they don't do concussive damage, so it's a lot of damage that comes out every time he pokes in.
Yep.
And as a result, he ends up losing quite a bit, but he does spot another anchor.
Flying
I wonder
saucer.
where this could be going.
Yes, that's interesting.
It's got feet on it. That could intimidate you, or it could excite you. Meanwhile, the Cyclops is just basically a rod attached to feet. So they're kind of like displaying their feet. Like a peacock displays its colors. Yeah, it's kind of like what the Cyclops are doing.
Yeah, and they got color to them,
No. So now, MoonHunter is out on the map. He can take that vaunted central treasury.
I heard something blow up, but I'm not sure what. I guess it was the Watchdog must have blown up somewhere.
Yeah, it was being shot, so it's possible he pulled the units away from it and just let it burn down or something.
Right. Flew over the.
I don't see any rubble anywhere.
Yeah, it died off of vision, I think. Still 4 mines in the top right there in the natural, but they're picked in such a spot that I don't think anybody will ever take any damage. Now, this anchor is not going to find any purchase over here with the Watchdogs coming in. So that's it. No. Oh, now they're gone. They voided. They didn't even get out because you died over the unpathable terrain, so they couldn't even. Their corpses couldn't even unload. They're just in the tar now.
Just vanish into existence. At least it isn't like when we first started, and I played against Vika, I think it was, or maybe it was you, and like a Maverick just spawned in the top left.
That's right.
0 for no explicable reason.
It was a bad rally, and it couldn't find the spot, so it's like, I guess I'll just go to nothing.
Yeah, I was so confused by that watching the replay.
All right, well, the Vultures are starting to run off their welcome here, and with the Cyclops mostly being brought down, although there's 2 of them in the anchor, this is doing a lot of damage to the bio, but the Cleric stack is going to keep all the beefier ones alive.
Yep, there's a lot of Clerics.
Oh, and look at more reinforcements coming in.
Savants have 95 health. They're really, really, really tanky. The Vultures don't have enough consistent damage to chew through that much health with the Clerics healing them.
Yeah, now he's made the Goliaths, but you know what? That can just be a battery for the Savants, and that is going to be GG a little bit earlier than we thought. I thought we were settling into a little bit of a more, I mean, it's hard to say a macro game without knowing the players, but a Terran versus Terran, those usually go a little bit the distance here, but look at that.
Yeah, both the players went pretty aggressive. It just, the Chiefs got a little bit thwarted, but yeah, you needed to have like maybe some more Cyclops there just to force the medic AI to start splitting itself up. Then that would have allowed the Vultures to get a little bit more damage in, but yeah, Savants are more tanky than Vultures are, so you definitely need to have a little bit more damage being put on them.
Yep, that's right. We are going to Impetus. That's a harder map for those kinds of shenanigans to happen because the distance is a little bit wider. But this one will have been allowed in by Grunch, so that is going to be... the upper seed picks the starter in this format. So we know that Derelict being picked as the starter was MoonHunter's plan all along, and now we see why. So that's interesting. That's interesting. I think Grunch banned Fata Morgana, if I'm reading that one correctly as well. So, all right, he's going to be in the top right, immediately getting for that gas. You know he's going to stay the course with the mech. What is this one? Light olive, beast or brown? Okay, all right. And then MoonHunter in the bottom left. I'm going to call this one tea green. Oh, it's just regular white? No way, dude. That's not white enough to be white.
Yeah, Grunch's build is fine. He just may want to adjust his scouting pattern a little bit. Kind of like how during the Age of the Wraith, you just kind of had to look through areas. And every now and then you'd see a match between 2 people and you'd see the most bizarre scouting pattern possible. you just know. You know something happened at some point. Generally, kind of the things we just saw. Especially if you ever play against Mystery Meat, it's just going to be like endless Ahmed being transported over.
Oh, yeah. I remember back then, one of the things that I had to tell people for coaching was, hey guys, if you're getting scouted by Mystery Meat, follow that scout worker. It's going to build an anchor if you don't, and you're going to pay for it. So that's definitely one of those things where, you could theoretically try to mind game that, come in when he's already put the anchor down, and then, kill the Mason before it finishes or something, but... they
were a little cheaper back then.
Yep.
Assuming their price hasn't been changed since the other.
Just 25 extra minerals, so 125 on this batch.
It was very, very, very reliable because you could send out 1 military unit. It could just be a Maverick.
Yeah.
And then that scout has built an anchor you can toss in there. That's an extra 300 health on that Maverick. Early into the game, it will trade very well with anything it can possibly fight against as long as you can put it somewhere. So it was definitely something you always had to be watching out for then. A lot of people didn't really do, but Mystery Meat definitely became infamous for it.
Yeah, and he's back, dude. It's exciting to have him back in the active community. He's playing his first qualifier match for Tyrant's Tale, our current tournament that we're building up players towards, and has a chance to qualify in. He's on the opposite end of the bracket as Veek, so that's like kind of everybody's top pick to get in, which makes sense. But Mystery Meat could play himself back into form. Had a disappointing outing on your birthday tournament, the Fraud of July. Didn't score too many hits.
I didn't see the early ones, but I did see the scores.
Yes.
And I know that his bracket probably would have been the harder bracket for him to get into without having played for such a long time.
That's right, yeah.
But I did expect to see a little bit better of a showing, so he's got to get up there to dethrone the eternally ruling Neblime.
That's right. That's right.
So he's going to have to catch up a little bit.
It's funny because Neblime has said before that he's only keeping the seat warm for Mystery Meat. And I just feel like, I don't know if that's really true. Like, he is going to have to work hard to get back into it.
I mean, for Mystery Meat to beat him before, it took us to those really long, really, really close games.
Yes.
So, it's, and I think Meat changed his race or something?
Yeah, a couple of times. I mean, he's always been a Terran at heart, but he played a little bit as Protoss, a little bit as Random. Some of these Vultures getting caught by that anchor. Not good for Grunch. Covenant already very fast. So we're seeing what MoonHunter can do when he doesn't go for the proxy shenanigans. And he's already relocating this anchor, too. So I think this is pretty good. It's good positioning for him. You know, he moves the anchor back away because he already kind of conditions Grunch to stay away from that cliff, but also because it stops the vultures from just running through. So it's pretty good stuff.
So I'm not actually familiar with the Savants do. They can change their weapon, can't they?
Yes, so they have 2 different forms. On this patch, there's no audio visuals associated with it, but I've done some on the more modern versions of the game since then. And basically, they come out with the kinetic penetration mode, and then they can switch to a mode that saps attack speed from their victim and increases the attack speed of the Savant. And then that buff stays on them for a certain amount of time. While they can switch over and start really gatling it out with the kinetic pen version with
they
like
also
max
have 2
attack
armor.
speed.
I didn't realize. So
Yes.
they are very beefy units.
Yep.
They're actually better at tanking than Ahmed is, I think.
Maybe a little bit. I mean, the thing is that in order to take efficient use of their passive, you want them to be positioned adequately for whatever the purpose might be. And you know what? Grunch could definitely come in and just pick that guy off. He's all on his lonesome.
Yep. Yeah, if you ever see these expensive units out, especially this early in the game, and you get a couple picks in, it can really, really soften it up for later on. Like in the first game when that Eidolon died, that's probably ultimately what slowed down MoonHunter's push to begin with. It could have come out a little bit earlier. It definitely would have been more dangerous.
That's right.
And especially when you're talking about burst damage versus burst damage, you definitely want to take out his highest burst, which is going to be these units that have 95 health. And especially since vultures, they can do good damage, but you got to get in to do them. And when you start getting a lot of them, they get hooked on each other a lot, and it can actually be kind of difficult to navigate the fight. And I've seen that quite a bit where you just get a lot of them. It's why the Cyclops is also a little bit better because of their smaller profile. They're less likely to get stuck and can put a little bit more damage in close up. But if the units you want to get to are so far behind, like the, let's see, the ranges here. I think the Savant will be a little bit higher, won't it? It's 5 versus 6. Yeah, so sometimes it can be a little hard to get to actually hit the back line with the vultures depending on the map. And this one here is pretty open though, so depending on how you play it, with all these mines, strategically placing them out in the middle of the map and keeping your vultures on standby in the middle of the map, when the infantry start tripping over all these things, it can separate their army. I mean, when you look at it right now, again, the Savants that are behind the army, if you had mines kind of strung out where you know he's going to go out, you could try to get some picks in during that. And, you know, you take 1 or 2 behind, you grab a couple clerics, maybe grab the Savant that's lagging behind, and then just run away. Even if you end up trading a vulture for it, it still is a lot that can help you out. But Grunch right now just much more interested in hanging out there. You try to get an anchor into
the ring of fire
Grunch's
over
base,
here.
and Grunch is like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm just going to build every watchdog under the sun.
Yeah, he's actually built. I think it's like 7 or 8 or something right now. So
that's one of those things. Like suicide and drop the Mavericks in there, but
all right.
He didn't want to do that in the other match. He's not going to do that in this one.
All right, the mines on the front are going to start to slow this approach down. You got to watch out for that Madrigal, but it is in the back line right now, so MoonHunter will consider his options here. I think at this point...
Put some units on that ledge, I think.
Yeah, right where the watchdog is kind of blocking them. Yeah.
Just to get a little bit of extra splash in on them from a fairly, like, not extremely safe, but definitely a safer position than being right on the front.
Oh, boy. More watchdogs pressuring the anchor. Can't get into a good spot.
Might just be trying to get some eyes on there, too, at the very least. But
well, now you're grounded, dude. Now you can't move.
There is actually an opening there he could have squeezed into.
That's right, yeah.
But may not have gotten too much out of it anyways.
All right, so the
2 Madrigals parked here. Grunch is
yeah, still no natural though. That's the interesting thing. Neither player. I mean, obviously the treasury's up for MoonHunter, but he's got no quarry, so the worker count is going to continue to be in Grunch's favor. First couple missiles go haywire in favor of Grunch, so he might have found a little bit of an answer. But remember, fighting into the entrenched position, that's different than trying to use the entrenched position to fight towards.
Good spot.
Yeah,
all the Savants are out in front. He can just dive his Madrigal into there, but I mean, it was a distraction, I guess. It killed all the Savants.
Yes.
Just got to finish off the Mavericks.
Oh, yeah, and the Madrigals are just going to absolutely annihilate those squishy units. That's the bio wipe here for Grunch. We might be going to map 3 quicker than we thought. But that being said, can you move this entrenched position, this mech force, further out? Is that even something that Grunch wants to do? He's getting the Star Pad add-on, adding another Fulcrum. He's got the money to go up to another base. Oh, the ant seal revealing the lobotomy mines as well, for good measure. Why not?
Yep. One of them was left alive. But Grunch just wants to take his base right now. I remember he was quite timid about closing some of the other matches. So this is probably still, again, another unfamiliar situation for him. He's adding in 2 fulcrums onto his existing as he's trying to get that base up. There is no phalanxes up at the point and no additional madrigals coming at the moment. A little squished for gas right now. He definitely wants to saturate that and that expansion as soon as it comes up because it's definitely going to be an inhibiting factor for him. MoonHunter, on the other hand, his army is very small. He lost nearly everything in that, so he is very, very vulnerable right now. There's only Mavericks in that 1 anchor, and definitely could be in a kind of a contained situation right now. I mean, Grunch could probably just put pressure on that. He has some clerics to withstand some of the damage, but he really doesn't want to try to navigate out and do that at the moment.
He's got some Anseals as well. This is before Anseals shielded for splash damage, and in fact, the Phalanx coming out here for MoonHunter kind of speaks to that. Like, okay, and just in case you're going to get some of that, and just in general, I need some way to sort of attack into your force. It looks like he doesn't want to trade into Eidolons. He wants to keep the Savant stack coming, but he's going to use the other artillery unit that Terrans get access to pretty early on, and in this case, it is going to be that Phalanx. So, interesting choices.
There's a Trojan loading up in Grunch's base with 2 Cyprians.
2 more on the way. We know he likes the Cyprian drops. He used them a lot versus Zerg.
There's a single Watchdog in MoonHunter's base, but as long as he isn't too intimidated by that, he can just fly over, dropping as he goes.
MoonHunter himself has an empty Trojan moving somewhere. I don't know what he could possibly be doing.
I'm not sure either.
Scouting it with it, I guess. So here's an interesting thing. Did you know that if you look at Grunch's base, you will see that we added sponsor billboards to the game? Can you believe that?
A what?
Yeah, go to his natural, Grunch's natural, take a left. Right where the Trojan's flying over. There it is.
Oh, check that out. The pickup partner.
That's Biddy B's moving company. By the way, the Trojans walked by each other, so that's pretty funny.
Did either of them pick up on it is the question, though.
That's right. Did they pick up, partner? So.
Well, MoonHunter's not picking up too much of anything yet. His Trojan's empty. And Grunch is sitting over there. Hopefully he doesn't forget about it.
Well, we've seen that happen before, yeah. So there's the splash damage. That's something we won't see on the modern version of the game. Oof. Couple of extra hits. Got to get those clerics onto these madrigals ASAP.
They're moving. Oh. Tickle.
Well, that madrigal can die to the splash if you're not careful. 15 health left. I don't know if he's got it.
2 health.
That's less than 3.
All right, Grunch remembered his Trojan is existing, and now it's moving.
Oh, boy. The encroaching position. This is exactly the opposite of what Grunch wants, but he does go in and snipe a Phalanx really quick, so that's helpful. His force is just going to get creamed by these Phalanxes, I'm afraid. Doesn't really have any sort of anti-splash or anti-range. Cyprians are starting to heckle the MoonHunter worker line in the main. His worker count is not spectacular in general.
Just what I knew was going to happen. He wanted to drop on the right side of the CC so it doesn't go anymore.
Yeah.
So they just cut them off, but unfortunately he ends up ceding. And I mean, I don't really think that game was over at that point. I mean, the worker count, I think, was actually in his favor.
Yes, massively. He was up by 20-something workers.
Especially if he had dropped on the right side and just cut them off. Like that. There's been a few games I've seen that where they drop on the left side. It's just like, okay, well, I'll just rally all my workers to the net and just ignore it for a while. And that's happened a couple times where the workers just escape with minimal deaths. And meanwhile, that ledge in Grunch's net was just underutilized in both engagements, where he could have stuck stuff up there. He could have put some madrigals up there just to delay it a little bit longer while his drop does some damage and he builds some more phalanxes of his own or something like that. The army still has to push in to finish him off. It's kind of like in Starcraft 1 where you're always worried about the Terran tank push, but it's like it kills stuff really, really, really slowly. So if you're just like repairing and just sustaining it, you can do that. It's kind of like that game where I made Shambler Rage Quit, where I teched up all the way to tier 3 on like 2-3 bases.
Yeah.
And it was like constant shit attacking me, like Cantors and Architects and everything, just like juggling buildings up and down. Like it takes a long time to actually kill bases with just those units. So he's going to want to push in, and then at that point, you're a little bit better prepared. Also, he had a fuck ton of money in the bank on top.
Yes.
So
yes. Yeah.
Definitely got a little bit rattled by that.
I think if he had spent his money a little bit better, he definitely would have still been in it. I think he was still in it even as the game concluded. A little bit anticlimax there for MoonHunter to get a little bit closer. He does make it into the qualification series against Top Ramen, and Top Ramen absolutely smashed him 3-0. So GG's, dude. Nice try. But at least after the smashing, MoonHunter did say, that was fun. So, you know what? He's got a good spirit about it. Hey, I actually don't see MoonHunter around that often. I think he only really comes in for some of the tourneys and then practices up, and then, we don't see him in between them. So he's a, fight or flight kind of guy. Grunch, obviously, I did mention a little bit. He switched to Zerg. He was beating ass, and then he got into a period of time where his ass was the one getting beat, and then he left. So similar to some of the other guys we've seen every now and then, unfortunately, just decides not for him, not for him. But you know what?
At least he didn't leave due to the RTS for Real Men channel.
Yes, well, you know what? I 1v1 me Command and Conquer 3, dude. I gotta uphold my RTS legacy. That's it.
God, the RTS legacy thing will never die. This is just so out of left field and so ridiculous.
Yeah, man. It's the kind of thing you only hear about, but it really happened. Well, Mesk, I think that does it for us. That is Acropolis #1, the gauntlet of the second gauntlet that is being casted all the way through. Some interesting games, some very silly games. I'm glad we managed to get there.
I really like the all quasis.
Yes. Yes.
Just like old times. Just like recent times.
Yes. Old times and new times. Listen, if new players come in, I've talked about it already. We've got level 1, can you survive the gasless mineral only challenge? Level 2 is, what if I harvest a little bit of gas to add in a couple more mineral only units that are gas gated? And then, eventually get to level 3, and that's when I actually mine gas and sort of play seriously, but still pretty deranged. So those are the kinds of games that I like to do to people who are new to the project. So if that sounds fun to you, well, you know where to go, the Discord server, where you too can be fodder for everybody else's entertainment and your own horror as I build nothing but quasilisks, and you need wyverns for them or something.
You need 60 wyverns for them, in fact.
That's all I got for you. Well, boys, GG's. We'll be back soon. So stay tuned. Stick around.
Smoke weed every day.